Howdy, howdy, folks, and welcome to this special review edition of the Wisco Movie Watchers podcast, brought to you by PTE Creative. Flying solo today, it's your boy Evan Davies. I'm giving you a review of the brand new version of The Running Man, 2025's Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright, starring Glenn Powell. It is a very interesting film to be reviewing, and it's been a while since I've been in the reviewing chair by myself solo, and it's been a while since I've actually been in the movie theater. July and June crazy with film. May I was getting in there plenty. But man, that August season hit and there wasn't really much of interest for me. Now granted, there were a couple hits during that time. Weapons obviously has done really well. Admittedly, I haven't seen it yet, but I'm very excited. It's on my very short to-do list of films to watch before the end of the year for our 2025 films and review episode, which will come out right about New Year's time. But we're here to talk about The Running Man, so let's do that. It's an interesting film. Now, I am someone who, if you have not seen it already, that is a top 10 film for me all time from the 1987 version. I absolutely adore The Running Man. I don't know why it sticks with me the way it does, but it is a perfect encapsulation of a genre to me, and I absolutely adore the original Running Man. Is it the greatest film of all time? No, it is not. But is it just plain fun and enjoyable? For me, it is, and I love that movie. And it is clearly which one of these is not like the other in our 6 through 10 episodes. So going into the 2025 edition here, I am a big fan of Glenn Powell. I think he's a tremendous star at a time when there isn't a whole lot of stars in the movie world in general anymore. We have a lot of names. A lot of names, but there's not a lot of big stars. And frankly, this movie is kind of a test for Glenn Powell if he can be the big star. Now, Anyone But You did help his case. People went to see that movie because of stars. They didn't go to that movie because, oh wow, that movie's plot is insane. No, they went because of two stars that are in the mainstay in the mainstream right now, right? So, going into this film, it's getting compared to the 87 version, and it's giving this litmus test of what is a star in 2025. Like, what is a true movie star? And I think that's more the interesting conversation about this film. From a purely technical sense, this film is flawed. Okay? It's just straight up flawed. We have a film in which, although I enjoyed myself, I can't sit here and say it's the greatest piece of cinema of all time. Well, it's far from it. It has a flawed and rushed first act, in my opinion, where we're really trying to establish Ben Richards the good guy. Family man with some anger issues, but family man trying to win his way out of poverty and out of circumstance. You have all of that, and then it quickly rushes you into the actual event, which is the Running Man game show in this apocalyptic near-future universe that is, to my knowledge, far more faithful to the actual book, The Running Man, by Stephen King, which is written under the Richard Bachman alias or pseudonym. So, it has all these different things going on pre the movie even coming out. Then we come into a rushed first act where it's very much, it's on point. We're getting you to care about Ben. We know he's a good guy. But then it's kind of hard to believe that when he's so willing to not go out of his way, but he's not going out of his way to kill people. So that's awesome. But also, he's just such an angry, over-the-top guy. So it's a little tough to be like, oh, what a nice guy. You root for him because he's the main character, and you root for him because of star power and charisma. You're not rooting for him because of a writing standpoint in this film. I don't think this film is strongly written from a sense of rooting for this character outside of charisma. That is one thing I do think is comparable to the original film, is that Glenn Powell has charisma and is a leading man. Arnold Schwarzenegger has charisma, was a leading man, still is to a degree. So you have those things in comparison, but this whole first act is very rushed in a way that even the original wasn't. It's certainly not a slow burn in the 87 edition, but nonetheless, And there's different ways they do this. This is not just a shot-for-shot repeat. It is very different. It's a run across the country as opposed to a run in this little post-apocalyptic grid square, board game essentially of murder set up in the original film. This is a cross-country trip, so to speak. And having said that, though, it's kind of rushed to get you into the Running Man. We're going to get you into the Running Man. Oh my god. And we establish these two other characters, which is a small theme throughout the film of how people would react if they were actually in the Running Man, which is kind of fun. But again, it's a rushed first act. It's all about getting you to the Running Man. The strength of this film is the second act. That's where you do get a little bit more believable heart, if you want to say that. They don't dwell on that too much. I don't think that this is a film trying to give that big of a message. I think this is a film that's just trying to enjoy itself, and that's the point. However, they do give you a little commentary here or there, but they certainly don't beat you over the head with a message. But the second act is where you really get to see Glen Powell shine, and he kind of accepts his circumstances and just wants the best way forward, and he's willing to do whatever he can to survive the game, which takes place over 30 days, not just one night, in like the original. So it is pretty interesting nonetheless to see what's going on and see how Powell interacts. Another great cameo I do want to mention here is Michael Cera. I think Michael Cera does a phenomenal job playing this kind of awesome, altruistic version of a survivalist. Kind of what books of fantasy try to make a survivalist, but as we see in real life, most survivalists tend to be eccentric, shall we say, in not the greatest ways. This is a really fun iteration of what a survivalist is with Michael Cera, and it is fun to watch, and it's enjoyable. The second act is where this movie is its strongest, and it really gets you to just enjoy the film. Be a fun popcorn movie. Third act is still fun, don't get me wrong. I do enjoy the third act, and I'm doing the spoiler-free for you as much as possible. But the ending unravels. The last 5 minutes is a mess. Where, what are you believing? That's kind of what they're trying to get you to buy into is, oh, the network could tell you anything. The network could do this. The network, obviously the villains, if you know this story, they're, media runs the United States. Media runs the world in general. That's the whole thing Stephen King was writing about in the first place. But the network here, they keep Ben alive because he's doing good ratings, but they put really poor circumstances around him. But you kind of accept it. You're like, yeah, I could believe a corporation could make a mistake because they're greedy. That's fine. But then the last 5 minutes, you're like, am I supposed to believe what this was? It kind of gives you almost 4 different possible endings without committing to any of them, and then it makes you believe it commits to one, but I don't think it really does. It's a bit of a mess, admittedly, the last 5 minutes. And I know I'm saying this right afterwards. That mess, I don't want to say it leaves a sour taste in your mouth, because it didn't for me, but I do think it's not the most satisfying ending that this film could give. I think there's 2 very obvious ones by watching the film that could be really satisfying. A third one, which would be a little bit bolder direction. This film kind of just goes, what if we did all of them really, really quickly and didn't commit? That is the difficulty here. So we have this really nice 90 minutes of fun popcorn movie. What happens if we took an 80s action film and infused it with some modern technique, some modern stars, and gave it a little bit more plausibility, I guess, if you want to say there's plausibility to this, and made it a little bit more modern take of what would happen if solely media ran the world, as if it's not doing that already. As I'm part of technically media, I guess, here. But nonetheless, it's a really nice 90 minutes sandwiched in between a rushed, not bad, but not spectacular first act of about 20-25 minutes, really. And this 5-minute piece of bread that just doesn't sit well. Otherwise, this film's really fun and enjoyable. In no way, shape, or form is this going to be my greatest movie of the year candidate. But I had fun. I enjoyed it. Granted, I also am predisposed to like it. I love the original, as I said up front. I do enjoy the Stephen King works that I get into, generally speaking. And I am a fan of Glen Powell. And I usually really enjoy Edgar Wright films as well. So everything was cooking for a recipe to get me to be interested, and it works on that. If you're going in expecting this elevated action film that's going to be a real commentary, that's not what you're going to get, frankly. It's an enjoyable, fun popcorn movie for 2025, which I think we kind of lack. However, going into that, there is another discussion to be had, but that's my general analysis of this film. Fun popcorn movie with a fun, likable star. A lot of sizzle, not a ton of steak. And that's the general analysis of this film. I am interested to see if I can get Dylan on for a secondary episode about this movie. Maybe we'll get to it before we go into the 2025 review. I really want to get him into the theater for Running Man, because I think that'd be an interesting discussion of what does this film kind of say about 2025 in general. Having all of that, this film kind of seems doomed to a degree, unfortunately, because I do think it's a fun popcorn movie that people could enjoy just watching action. But the marketing for this was very stop-start. Didn't really seem to find a great place. The movie was delayed very late in the game. I mean, I might be missing that entirely, but I've been tracking this movie. The second they said Running Man, I was like, oh, Running Man, okay, and I was iffy. And then they said, well, Glenn Powell's going to be the star. I was like, well, there's too many things here to make me think this movie could be awful. I'm going to go see this and give it a shot. But it got a late delay. It never really seemed to find its home. And then the theater was I was pleasantly surprised to see it was about maybe 50% full. I bought my ticket 3 days ago to an early screening of a Thursday showing. Like, I literally just came from the theater at a 7 o'clock Thursday show and came and recorded this. And as of Monday before the show, 3 tickets in the rest of the theater were sold. So thankfully, it did get some numbers, and it did get some people into the theater. And I think it's an enjoyable, fun little watch. I think it's great counter programming for Thanksgiving. If you're not going to go into award season film, this is something more for you. But it just seems the marketing was bungled. They didn't really have a great place for this, and if they wanted to do counter programming, I think this is a movie that would have thrived had they just delayed it even more to January or February. Honestly, that where you kind of just get horror film and rom-com, and that's about it. And you're waiting, and you're salivating for a fun movie to go to, a fun experience while you're cooped up in the house. This would have been great counter programming for that. Maybe even in March. I don't know if it really fits the November window the way they think they thought it could. I know that's a little, counterproductive wording there, but I'm saddened because I think this movie could have done better with better placement, a little bit of better marketing. Having said that, it's not a barn burner of an award season film. It's a fun, dumb popcorn movie with an enjoyable star. If you like that kind of fare, I think you're going to really enjoy The Running Man as just a fun popcorn movie. If you're not into that, it ain't going to be your cup of tea, and that's A-okay. But that is going to be my full analysis for The Running Man thus far. I'm doing spoiler-free only. I'm not doing any spoilers like I traditionally would do, just because we got a lot of shows for you. And speaking about that, you can go check out the end of our Top 100 series. That's episodes coming out in the next couple weeks. Plus, we got some cool new game shows that we want you to try. We're going to be doing some movie grid shows. We're going to do some tier lists, all kinds of stuff. So go check that out in the near future. Even, I believe, it's just 2 days from now, we're going to have a brand new game show debuting. So go check that out as much as you possibly could. We would love for you to do that. So please like, comment, subscribe for more. But that's going to do it, folks. Go watch a great movie. Perhaps it's even The Running Man. Peace, love, and hugs to you all. Goodbye!